Hello, it's Parm King, the Dungeon Masters for Legends of Barovia, and today I'm going to unlock the key to increase performance for you playing Foundry on your browser and computer. Now, last night I was working on my Foundry setup for my players for the upcoming session. I was having some performance issues, so I logged into Foundry server on Discord. I highly recommend everybody join the Foundry Discord channel. It's a community of really helpful and knowledgeable people, and in minutes Vance gave me some tips and some web links to help me improve performance of Foundry using my browser in my particular computer. So a shout out to Vance, thank you very much. So I'm going to go through a couple of things here, and the first thing you're going to notice if you've watched any of my videos, I use a lot of modules, and some of those are like dynamic lighting modules, like I have the fire going on right here. I also have a lot, using the fog of war, as well as Dice So Nice, and some of those things are taxing on your computer and on your browser. Now, I'm running Foundry on a Dell laptop. It does not have a dedicated GPU, and so it's pretty taxing on my computer if I start running a lot of things on here, including if I'm going to do any streaming or anything else like that. And so getting the maximum performance out of this is really important. In addition, some people might be running low end. In my particular game, I have players from around the world, some in Egypt, Germany, England, Ireland, and Canada, and we're all running on different machines. Some are brand new, some are old, some are like mine, just a laptop with not a dedicated GPU. And so these are going to be some tips to improve some performance. The first thing I'm going to tell you is something right in Foundry itself. If you go ahead and you click on the gear icon over here and you bring up your configuration settings, there's two things in there that can help improve performance. The first thing is take your maximum frame rate and take it down to 30, at least 30. Now, we're not running a high-end first-person shooter with a lot of graphics. It can be graphically intensive on machines like myself, but we don't need a high frame rate. I mean, it's just fog of war and some flickering of some fire. So set it at 30 or even set it lower. The second thing to do is you can click off Enable Soft Shadows. These things will improve the performance on lower end machines or machines like mine, which are non-dedicated graphics card in there, and hit Save Settings. Your computer's going to have to refresh here. The next thing that we're going to do, it's refreshing there, and there we go. So now it hasn't really changed anything for me. I mean, it's lowered the load on my computer, but from the experience, running at a 30 frame rate for a flickering fire, it's not really going to do anything for me. Now you can definitely see though how the shadows here have become harder. I'll go ahead and change them back so you can see that difference. So in the configuration settings, if I put softer shadows, you're not going to have, and I save that, you're going to see that these shadows are going to be a little softer, and that's going to be a little bit more demanding instead of that hard look that we had before. There's kind of a faded look here. So it's going to be a little bit demanding, more demanding on your CPU or graphics card. Now let's jump over the tips that I got from Vance. The first thing we're going to do is go to the FoundryVTT Troubleshooting Guide. I'll put a link in the bottom. A special thank you to Nath. I think his other name on here for creating this is Anathemia, if I have that correctly. Another great member on Discord communities put this online troubleshooting guide. Now, we're not going to look at the entire troubleshooting guide, and I'll put a link down below. We're just going to look at performance-based issues, and this is where Vance directed me. Now, the first thing that Vance did say is he wants you to make sure that your browser can support WebGL, and he gave me this link here. I am using a Chromium-based browser, Brave browser. I really like Brave browser because it does some does some ad blocking and has some great privacy features on it, but it's based in Chromium. So going to this website, WebGL Report, will tell you if your browser supports WebGL. The next thing we're going to do is go to that Foundry Troubleshooting Guide, and we're going to click on Performance Issues. And the first thing we're going to look at is browser-based acceleration. Now, performance issues, we're not talking about necessarily internet connection or internet speeds. We're talking about the performance issues that your CPU and your GPU are cranking out hard to run Foundry along with your browser. So if we go to the upper right hand corner, we're going to click on browser hardware acceleration. Again, I mentioned I'm using a Chromium based browser, and we're going to type in Chrome : flags, and we're going to check to ensure the override software rendering list is enabled. So I'm going to go up to my browser and type in Chrome here, Chrome : // flags. And this is going to redefault to Brave because I'm using the Chromium browser Brave, and we want to make sure that the override software rendering list is enabled. The next thing we want to do is check out our WebGL. Remember, we wanted to see if we were able to use WebGL. It tells you right here how to enable that. We're going to click on WikiHow, and again, I'm using a Chrome-based browser, and we want to type in Chrome settings in the address bar. I'm just going to copy and paste that here. That should bring up pretty much the same one as we had before. I'm going to type in Chrome-based browser settings. And we want to make sure that, here we go. This has brought up the regular settings. I think we want to go back over to the flag settings. Yeah, here it is. WebGL 2.0 compute. Enable the use of WebGL in your API. So I've enabled that. So we've got our override software rendering list and our WebGL 2.0 both enabled. The next thing on here is for those of you that are using a PC or a laptop that has a dedicated graphics card. You're going to want to go in there. I don't have that on my laptop, but you want to go on there and check your drivers and make sure that your drivers for your manufacturing allows you to configure your card so that GPU is running correctly and related to Foundry. These three tips here, the browser hardware setting, the WebGL, along with adjusting the settings in my configuration, significantly improved my performance. I wasn't having that stuttering problem, and I checked using the computer's performance, and all of a sudden the computer wasn't running as stressful as it was before. Everything wasn't running out, popping up and maxing out. A huge help. The last thing I recommend doing is making sure that you go to your drivers. Make sure your drivers for your graphics cards are updated. And your CPU, anything to do with your CPU drivers on your laptop, everything is updated to the most recent drivers. Those things together should solve your problems with your performance-based issues on your web browser. Thanks again for watching. And again, if you have any problems, I highly recommend going to the Foundry Discord channel, asking questions in there, and people are more than willing to help you solve your problems. We all really enjoy Foundry and figuring things out. And lastly, as I always say, make sure all your rolls are critical 20s, and if they are a critical 1, make sure you roll on that critical failure table. And again, it can just be a failure table of jokes, so you can tease your players that they failed. It doesn't have to be something as dramatic as your weapon breaking or chopping off your ally's arm. Now, I've put some of those things in mind just to spice it up a little bit, but you don't have to do that. Enjoy your game. Thanks again for giving me your time. Subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon to be updated for new videos. Until later, this is Pine King signing off.